Wow, it's hard to believe it's been 1 week since the death of Christ. 1 week ago today, Jesus died. It just almost seems like it was yesterday. But in our case, it's thousands of years ago. But just a week ago, we were talking about Good Friday. And here we are on Friday in April. And I just want to talk to you just for a moment about just this resurrected one. Because as soon as he resurrected, he dealt with some stuff that I think is really important. He talked to Mary that morning about her tears. I think that's important for us to understand. He actually said, "Why are you crying?" So he said he wanted to talk to her about her tears. And I don't think he's ever quit doing that. But what I want to say is the road to Emmaus, and when I was on that road and in that city and, stood there and looked back over the countryside, and it was quite an experience for me because all of that story just kind of began to make sense. Because Jesus, after he resurrected, he asked these guys on that road to Emmaus, he says, what are you talking about? What are you discussing? And I just really believe that if Jesus, if you encounter him or you experience him, it's the same risen Lord. It's the same risen Lord. He doesn't mind talking about your tears. He wants to know what you've been talking about. That's a good question I would like to ask is, here today, what have you been talking about? What have you been discussing? And finally, what happened is, they had some conversation and they talked for a little bit. And then he actually sat down with them and broke bread. And their eyes were open. And that's important because what they said was, didn't you sense something? Didn't you feel something? As he opened up the scriptures to us. Can I tell you what Jesus wants to do for you and I? Is he wants to open up some stuff for us. In the midst of our sorrow, he wants to open up some stuff for us. In the midst of our discussions and talks and whatever that's about and whatever's on our mind and whatever's in our heart, even that night, he asked the guys, he says, what's troubling you? He says, what about these thoughts you're having? And so those guys on the road to Emmaus, when they finally that night, they said, and they're telling the story about this encounter with Jesus, they said, man, our hearts, we sensed something, we felt something. We sensed something, we felt something. I just want you to hear that for a minute because I think it's real important because Jesus, when you encounter him or you experience him, he wants to open, they said, as he opened up the scriptures. See, Jesus wants each one of us to see clearly. He wants each one of us to hear precisely. He doesn't want it to be something we don't know. He wants to open up the eyes of our heart. He wants to open up the ears of our spirits. He wants to communicate with us in a way, not through the five senses. It's really not about the way the enemy, most of the time, the last thing Jesus would use is the five senses. He wants to open up the eyes of your heart. He wants to open up the ears of your spirit, so to speak. He wants you to be able to, he wants to open up scripture to you. He wants you to understand. He wants you to know. He wants you to sense it and feel it. And that's what they said. So can I just tell you something? Because the enemy, there's so many lies and there's so much deception and there's so much deceit and there's so many arguments. But the best thing against all the arguments is your personal experience with Jesus. your personal experience with Jesus. And that's why they're so important. Because if you have personal experiences with Jesus, it doesn't matter what anybody says, what anybody believes. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter how anybody feels. You've had a personal experience with Jesus. That's your argument. Your argument's not only your personal experience with Jesus, it's your personal encounter with the Lord. That's your argument. You've had a personal encounter with the Lord. So you're just doing like Mary did. You're just doing like those guys did. You're just doing like the apostles did. You're just telling about your personal experience. You're telling about your personal encounter with the Lord. What you sensed and what you felt and what you begin to see and what you begin to hear and what you begin to understand because of that. See, the thing is you're the evidence and I'm the evidence that he lives. That's the truth of the matter. The evidence is you and I. We are the evidence that Christ lives. We are the evidence that he's alive. We're the evidence. Our personal experience, our personal encounter with the Lord, our personal experience with Jesus makes us the evidence. We're actually what's brought. If people want to know, how do you know God heals? I'm the evidence. How do you know God forgives? I'm the evidence. How do you know God delivers? I'm the evidence. How do you know God sets free? I'm the evidence. How do you know God can change your life and turn it around? I'm the evidence. I'm the evidence. I've had a personal experience with Jesus. I've had a personal encounter with the Lord. I heard something. I saw something. I sensed something. I felt something. He told me something. He showed me something. He opened up my eyes. He opened up the ears of my spirit. He gave me understanding. And that's why I know he lives. And that's why others will know he lives. We're the evidence. Let me tell you, sir, you're the evidence. Let me tell you, ma'am, you're the evidence. Let me tell you, young lady, you're the evidence. Let me tell you, young man, you're the evidence. You're the evidence that Jesus lives. And it was only a week ago in history, on this day, that he died. But already over the years, so many people like them back in that first week had personal experiences and personal encounters. They sensed and felt and knew without a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. So when the enemy wants to lie to you, let him know, hey, I'm the evidence. I don't have to believe everything or know everything about everybody else's life. I'm not certain, but I'm the evidence. I'm the one that he touched. I'm the one that he helped. I'm the one that he came to. I'm the one that he talked to. I'm the one that he healed. I'm the one. I'm the one. God bless you. Don't let the enemy lie to you. Be careful what you talk about and what you discuss. Because if you're not careful, you'll begin to believe something that's not true. Let me remind you, he is the way, the truth, and life. We'll talk more about that maybe tomorrow. God bless you so much. Love you guys.